Hi guys, it's Jennibellie. Today I'm sharing how to detect paper grains when making handmade journals, which is really important to do for the longevity of your journal, for making sure you make a journal that lasts. So this is out of my wisdom journal class that I've recently created. This is a snippet from one of the videos in the making the journal section, which I think is about 8 videos, and this one is about detecting your paper grain and making the signatures. So I'm just taking out that little bit for the paper grain because it's important no matter what kind of journal you make. Whether you're making a wisdom journal or any other kind of journal, these are just simple ways to detect the paper grain. So this is how you do it. So to make our signatures, I just want to share with you a little bit about paper grains so that you make a journal that is going to be lasting, okay? So I'll go with this paper because I think you'll be able to see it better. I like torn edges, so I'm just going to tear the edges off. And for the whole of my journals, I'm not going to particularly be measuring them to make all of the pages the same or whatever. I'm happy to have different pages, different sizes. Of course, if you want your journal to be uniform, then you can go ahead and size up everything. So now roughly I've got about 16 inches by about 11 inches. Now you could measure it and put it into your journal depending on how you can get the maximum kind of pages to go into your signature out of your main sheet of paper. But like I say, I think you really need to take into account the paper grain. So what the paper grain is think of it in terms of veins of the paper. It's the way that the paper lies. So like in fabric, the weave goes in every which way. With paper, it runs in one direction, okay? So usually, this isn't all the time, but most of the time, the paper grain runs with the length of the paper leaf that you have, okay? So usually the paper grain will run this way rather than running this way, but I'm going to show you some ways that you can test which way your paper grain is running in your paper, okay? So the first way to test it is just by folding over your page, and not folding it but just pressing it, okay? Just testing its resistance. Now go the other way. Okay, and whichever way is easiest to fold, that is the way that the grain runs in your paper. Where the resistance is a little bit more when you come to folding it, that is where the paper grain is running opposite, okay? So for me, again, it was easier to fold it this way, so the paper grain is running along the length of the paper. The other way to test it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tear this roughly in half. As I say, I'm not bothered about measurements for my journal. And this will do fine for me because I know in my particular paper that the paper grain runs in this direction, but I'm going to show you with this one the difference, okay? So I'm just going to lightly, very, very lightly, I didn't make a real crease in it as you can see, fold that one over. What I'm going to do with this one is rather than fold it in the same way, that way, I'm going to fold it this way using the same pressure. Actually, I'm using more because it's got more resistance to it. But what you can see is clearly this one, the crease is smooth, it's really nice. This one I used more pressure and you can see it's bumpy. Okay, so that is showing you where the paper grain is running in the right direction, and this one where it's running in the opposite direction. It's got all of this kind of bobbliness to it, and it requires you pushing the bobbles out to fold it, okay, versus this one that I did very lightly. And then once you have folded it with the paper grain, just run a bone folder or the edge of a scissors or ruler across it once. Don't go backwards and forwards like you're buttering bread because what you'll do is you'll weaken this edge, okay? So what you want with your journal is for all of your paper grains to be running in the direction of your spine, okay? So this is how the page is going to go into my journal. The reason for this is with all the opening and closing of a journal, if the paper grain is in the wrong direction, i.e. this one, the paper, as you begin opening and closing, where these bubbles are, will begin to crack and it will begin to tear. The paper will begin to come out at the seams of your journal, literally at the spine of your journal, okay? So this is why we go with the paper grain when we are making a journal. On these ones, the paper grain is really pronounced, so I'll show you this one as an example. So you can see here, I've just been actually smoothing these with my fingers. I've not been using the bone folder for them, but if you look here, it's pretty obvious as soon as you start doing it. Look how bumpy that is. But as you begin to press down, the paper grain here, the crackling is, and you can see where it would begin to crack if you folded it this way. So very simply, look how smooth that goes in comparison. Super smooth. The Wisdom Journal class is open now, and it's all about making a journal filled with your own wisdoms. What do you want to take action on? What do you take action on? So the things that are going to go into your wisdom journal are things that don't come naturally to you, things that you need to realise, not things that are second nature, things that require you to go through some stuff to figure it out, okay? Because the stuff that's second nature you don't need to take note of. The stuff that you naturally do is not required for you to really spend time in breaking it down so that you can apply it to life. You can take that or any of my other classes on journalworkshops.ning.com. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and you would like more, there's 3 things you can do. Number 1, you could subscribe to my channel. Number 2, you could sign up for my newsletter, where I send out exclusive videos just to my newsletter crew each month, along with news, monthly giveaways, new stuff, articles and updates. And 3rd, sign up to my art community, journalworkshops.ning.com. It's free to sign up, and there is weekly and monthly art activities going on there, as well as all of my classes, including a free one if you haven't taken it yet called Inspiration Station, all about making art journals and just keeping your creative inspiration up. So go sign up now. Have an awesome day. Bye.